Having grown up in a staunch Christian family, she was taught never to sacrifice love for money. She saw her bandmates, her relationship, and life at large beyond money. Cinderella took the risk to stick to a principle parallel to most people's reality, and it did cost her. Welcome back from the break. Thank you for being a part of the show. Today, our special guest on Life Stories is Cinderella Sanyu. There was a time in her life when there was a storm, and it was not a small one. It was big, and it was all over the place. It was in the public eye. How did Cindy get herself from that point to who she is today? We'll continue with this story. So Cindy, before you left, Steve Jane was your boss.
Yes.
And he gave you permission.
Yes, he gave us, all of us, permission to have a 1-month holiday.
So why I'm asking is I want to know why the people at the same level as you could fire you, because...
You know, the way you don't understand it is the same way I don't. Yeah, that's just the same way, because when we entered into Blue 3, we didn't... Jackie didn't call me, Lillian didn't call me, you know, it wasn't the three of us saying, oh, Tukoleyoka group, no. There was paperwork, there was this, you know, we got into a contract to be Blue 3. So the logical way of doing it is if someone is leaving, you know, write a contract and fire them, or something, or maybe I send a resignation letter, or all the things, but none of the above happened. When they first called me, I was passive, I was like, no, I'm not coming, you know, because I didn't think it was a big deal. So I just said, no, 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 I'm not coming. So they went off the phone and everything seemed fine. We didn't get off the phone fighting. Nothing at all. So it was later that I thought, okay, when at that time Mario told me maybe you should call and explain more, because on the phone you were very, you know, it was very shallow. So maybe you should call and explain more. So I called one of the girls and I started to explain. I said, this is my holiday, you know. I want to have my holiday. We've been working 3 years. If Nangako holiday, this is my time. And I'm really enjoying my time with Mario because so we would just do these small holidays together.
Did they have boyfriends here?
Yeah, they were both seeing someone.
Here?
Yeah.
But you did not weigh the holiday and all that?
I did. In the 3 years, I worked. I didn't run away, you know. I didn't do any silly thing. I didn't ruin. You know, I tried to be a very good member of Blue 3, you know. Unless that time when I was very sick, that's the only time they replaced me. I didn't have these many moments of disappointment that I had to make up for. There was nothing. Our time was amazing. And as Blue 3, we deserved a break, including them. Even when I was talking to them, I was like, you deserve a break as well. I stayed there after they said they're moving on without me. I stayed. I was depressed. I stayed another month, you know. Still, I was in this shock period. I was like... And
were you relaxed? Because it was
when I was there, I was trying to relax the whole time. To convince myself, okay, this has gone. It's not as bad as I think, because it was actually really bad. When I came back, as soon as I got to the airport, I called Steve Jane. I said I wanted to be in the group. You understand? I didn't want to let Blue 3 go. But you knew that Ali was now your manager. I didn't know. I didn't know by then. I knew they were in the process of selling. I didn't know that already, you know. So I said I wanted to be part of the group.
And you probably had no way of knowing.
Oh, yeah, exactly. There was no, because at that time my connection with the girls had cut off. During that time, we couldn't talk anymore. So when I came, I called in, and then, you know, later Steve told me, sorry, it's not possible. I didn't take it seriously.
So when you heard it from Steve, did you really think, oh, now it should be final?
Yeah, and I thought, okay, this is fine, or maybe there's another way. Or maybe they'll change their minds when they see me. It's one thing to tell someone something on the phone. It's another thing to look at them and tell them, especially such news. So I saw their show at Rouge. That I think it was the 3rd of March or something, because I'd advertised it really to launch Maya and everything. So on that day I came to their show. And then, you know, because as much as they'd fired me, I was still VIP. So we sat in the same table. So they were there and I was there, and it was a very weird situation, you know. And I felt like maybe they're going to change their minds now.
I mean, they had not seen you in a while, because you said you stayed for another month.
For another month, so it was 2 months.
So was there a whole, oh, Cindy?
No, it was like, oh God, she's here. That, you know, it was weird. It was, they couldn't look at me, you know, and And you know the way, because I was the one who was offended, so I was the one who was looking at them like, you know, like, exactly, like, I wasn't mad, you know, I was just
hurt.
Like I was hurt, you know, I was very hurt at that time. I remember looking at them.
Did you shed some tears?
No, I was shaking like a leaf because everyone was looking at me. So I didn't want to cry because it would look dramatic. Then, you know, when they did that show and they launched Maya and I heard her sing my verses, I was like, okay, this is over. I felt like I needed to be strong for the fans as well who were there. I actually didn't want the fans to think
so when do you leave? When do you leave? When
they came back and they sat there and still didn't talk to me, I thought, okay, they're not going to talk to me, let me go. You know, let me leave now, because I felt like if they just said hi, I would have broken down and just cried, you know, because I was, in my head, I had all these feelings. I was just waiting for someone to give me an open door, and I was just going to burst out and cry and talk about everything. So, but no, they didn't talk to me. And now I want to cry.
Oh.
It was hard at that time, man. So, I left. I sat at the parking lot for about an hour and a half, just thinking, maybe they're going to come and talk to me, you know, because apart from just being Blue 3, we were friends. To me, they meant a lot, because there's no one I could run to at that time. So it was like, I thought, no, Lillian's going to come. Or if she doesn't come, Jackie's going to come.
Aww.
You know, so...
And you're in the parking lot alone, and you're thinking maybe they didn't come to me because there's paparazzi, but somehow they're going to follow
you know,
me.
Our relationship was way beyond paparazzi. You know, it was, I felt, paparazzi can't stop us, not now. And I was in the car. I said, no, they'll feel some guilt. Send me a message, or, you know. And then none of the above happened.
Oh. Cinderella's siblings and friends rallied behind her, but she was not sure about her fans and her future. Right in her face, her replacement was launched. After shame came silence, but business followed, and out of the blue, with a bang, the lioness was back to the jungle.
You know, so I went home, I cried my tears, you know, and thought, what am I going to do next?
Did you talk to your family that, you know, I actually went there?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my God.
I did. The next day is when I said, oh, yesterday I went.
Your family was mad at them?
They were mad at me. But for me, it was deeper than that. You know, it wasn't about you giving me money to shoot another video. It was this hole in my heart, you know, had to be filled up, and I had no idea how I'm going to do that.
Did somebody responsible in your life, maybe your mother, try to reach out maybe to Steve Jean or to one of the girls?
My family was too upset. They were too upset to do that. For them, I mean, we've always been like that. I think it's because we've grown up with very little. So in a way, we got used to people rejecting us. So my family is like, oh, okay, we've done this before. It doesn't matter. Let's move on. That's the way my family generally is.
You're the contented poor.
Exactly, yes. But once you have little and we don't care, keep your match. Yeah, so my family, no, they immediately accepted, okay, they fired you, fine, you know, you're going to move on. You've been there with nothing, you can still survive. That's the way they were. Yeah.
How long was it between the period of, you know, that whole uprising and all that, and the period when your pictures?
I think it was a bit less than a year, or probably just a year. You know, because after that saga, after the Blue 3 things, when I released in Bikoye, then Bikoye did well, did very well for a debut single. It did really well. And then I did Nawewe, and it was good. But then I did Ayocha. Then I was the one.
You felt it because you were the one.
That song, and it's weird. That song took us, me and Washington, it took us only 2 hours to do. These days I take much longer in the studio.
When did Washington cue on?
When I left the Blue 3, I spoke to him because at that time he was the producer, the IT producer who everybody was talking about. Like because he had a new style. He had just left Gargamel. So he was out there to work with people because at first he was signed with Gargamel, so getting through him was through Gargamel, and it was so technical. So I approached him. So I thought, oh, I'll do something with him, you know, in the near future, whatever. So after Nawe was looking for a new sound, I felt like Bikoye wasn't my style, you know. So I said, I want to find my style. So I went to him and we just started.
Who produced you in Bikoye?
Bikoye was a guy called Dennis Katoke. He's not so known, but does really good work. So so when I went to Wash, we just sat in the studio and he played a beat and we started to write. In 2 hours, that song was done.
With hit after hit, her plan seemed ready to take off for the greatest heights. Cinderella Sanyu was the new trend. Producers did flocking, so did awards, so did fans, and so did profit. The grey seemed to be turning to silver until she received that phone call informing her of the unthinkable.
After Yocha, I became the one. You know, I was no longer Cindy Blue 3.
And the girls were doing well too.
Yes, that's the time when they had Where You Are.
Yeah,
they were doing
the
really
girls were
well.
doing good
Yes.
too.
So I had that song, and then all of a sudden I won.
So you kept us on our toes.
People were there and I gave them what they wanted, you know. So at that time I felt really good. I was like, finally I've got a style that I love and the people love. It's different. Sometimes an artist sings music, Guatayagara. That's because that's what sells. But Ayocha is what I love to do. That's my style. I like it. So I was happy. I was making money. You know, I was starting to settle, change my car, and you know, starting to pay the fees again, help out in the family. Exactly. I was happy. I was like, Blue 3 bakola, I'm okay.
So you were starting to
relax,
to get back to life.
Exactly. My career was starting to, you know, take a very good turn. It was my first big break. You know, I was headlining at concerts. I was touring at that time. The Ugandans were calling me from everywhere, from the UK, from the States, from just to sing Ayocha. So I just started to settle down and feel like, okay.
So that's when you started to think, you know, life can go on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you start to forgive them also?
That's when I started to let it go. Yeah. I can't say forgive, because
you didn't think about
forgive, you have to actually see the person you talk, then you forgive. I started to let it go, you know. I started to think, it's not that bad, you know, I'm okay. It's not bad. They're doing fine, I'm doing fine. Everything that I wanted to do, I'm doing, you know. As a solo artist, yes, I'm not in a group, it's okay. Still, I'm achieving my dreams the way I set out to achieve them. Because growing up, I didn't visualize myself being in a group, you know.
Then as you start to dust yourself off,
that's when the papers come in. That's when the nude pictures come in.
Somebody knocks you even harder down.
Oh my God.
When did you take a nude picture, Cindy?
When I just met Mario, I was 17. And I just met him, and I was making 18. He was over there, I was over here. So at some point,
and how old was he?
He was about 28 at that time.
Who took the pictures?
My sister. Yeah, my elder sister. We were just, you know, fooling around in the house and taking pictures. You know, like taking pictures of me in a towel, and I take the clothes off, and she's taking. If you look at the pictures, I'm not posing. It's just, you know, we're just girls having a good time. So, and there's no lights, you know, fancy lights. There's no makeup, nothing. It's just pictures.
She sensed danger when no one could say it. All she heard was buy the paper. And all this started in the wee hours of the morning prior to the market day of the paper. I can only imagine what went on in the later hours of the day.
So I thought, no, there's no way they have my pictures. So they insisted, said we have a meeting. Then we had a meeting. And then that's when I saw them my pictures. You know, I noticed they had my pictures in their laptops, and that was just really, I sank to this small. I wanted the ground to swallow me up at that time. You know, I wished I could just turn around and become dust. I said, I had no idea how you got these pictures. I didn't send them, neither did in fact, I called my man while I was in that meeting. You know, I was like, how has this happened? And he was in shock as well. Actually, that's the time when Mario moved back to Uganda, because he felt like, this is really bad, let me come next week. You know, my next flight, I come and make sure everything is okay. So he came, and all the rest of the papers withdrew their pictures. And they said, we're not going to release it because we understand your situation, blah, blah, blah. And they never released it. I remember the Observer released an article that said Cindy gets hit by cyber whatever, something. So they spoke about the story, but they didn't print any. They just said people are in danger of being, you know,
people are hacking through.
People are hacking through, you know. Exactly, and then Cindy was affected, but there was no story about nude pictures, nothing at all. And that was it. New Vision said nothing. All the people said nothing about it. God bless them, you know. So one of the guys called me and said, I have the pictures and I'm not giving them to you unless you pay me. And he wanted this huge amount of money, which I didn't have by then, you know. So, and my boyfriend wanted to pay it, wanted to pay the money. So I asked him if he can verify that he's the only one who has the pictures. He said, I can't verify that.
He said, I can't.
He said, I can't verify that. The things were posted on our site, so I don't know how many people got the pictures. But already there was a guy on the street who was selling my pictures nude for 200,000 a copy. You know, so how many people was I going to pay at the end of the day? I had no idea.
Disaster was in the pipeline. It was not about to end. And when the ugly truth was out there, Cindy, in the company of her boyfriend, set out to go buy the paper that had exposed her nude pictures. Pictures that a few women are brave enough to take, and many too weak to bear if exposed. Nevertheless, she gathered the strength to go back home, but after closing the door behind her, she was stabbed by pain and bled through the endless tears that rolled down her eyes.
The pictures came out about 3 or 4 days later. They came out and people started calling me at 3 a.m. You know, when they've just bought the paper, maybe they're coming from the club and then they buy red pepper, and then there's you know, Cindy nude.
So what happened when you were told?
When I was told, until I bought the paper, I didn't believe it.
When you bought where did you buy that paper?
I was living in Muyanga by then. So it just came out and there was a guy from Tembe, he had his last copy. And my boyfriend bought it. Mario bought it and brought it home.
Didn't the guy say,
No, because Mario is the one who bought it, not me. I couldn't get out for at least 3 days. I couldn't leave the house. So he brought the paper and I saw it. And it sank in. You know.
Did you proceed to town or you just drove back home?
No, I stayed home.